Can I get a drum roll? Da-da-da-da-da. Well, 2022 is going to be on its way out and 2023 will be coming in. And I'm so grateful for this last year. I wanted to share with you guys, this is Dating with Katy. And on today's podcast, I'm going to be giving you my 2022 dating in review. And this has to do with what I do as a matchmaker, what I do as a dating coach, all of the success and some of the hard truths of dating this year, and also about the company and the podcast. So I just kind of wanted to have a 15-minute session and share with you like what it is that I do and what does it mean to have success when you work with me. Well, thanks so much for joining. I hope that you have clicked subscribe. I hope that you've given me a 5-star review, which thank you for those. I'm so like blown away when I look at that and I see the little comments and so grateful. And I hope you send these to single friends because I feel like that is what we need to be doing. As a matter of fact, I just noticed on my Spotify that I have more shares of my podcast than like 80% of other podcasters, something like that. And it's so awesome to think that you guys are sharing this because sharing is caring. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about like if you were to become a client. Now, I've asked a lot of you to get in the database. So the database is a network. Only 5 of us matchmakers work with it. So you know it's secure. We do not sell the information. You are good. I have people who get nervous. We didn't sell your information. That wasn't us. We've never done that. We never will do that. It's also in there when you sign up. The link is below. It's a little bit of a process. You have to add some photos and you have to fill in the bio. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If you have done that and you feel like you didn't do a good job, can you please email me datingwithkaty@gmail.com. I will resend it to you because even in our database, if someone has done a mediocre job and not put in the effort to add great photos and share more about who they are and what they're looking for, I really can't ever use that person on a date. And it's not really my job to go back and ask you all these questions where we have this. And if you could just take some time, it takes about 15 minutes. It's a little bit easier on your computer. You will get a login information so you can go back. But if somehow you've lost that, just email me. I will send it back to you and you can update this or you can make sure that it's really good. Because even if I was looking online for people, if you're dating online, which, if you are, great, go listen to my first, podcast 11 through 25. Everybody's looking quickly, and I'm looking quickly through our database. There's thousands of people. I'm looking at a great photo, and I quickly go down and read who they are and what they're looking for. And if you have not filled that out, I pass. So make sure that you've done that. Now that's for those of you who are in the database. You don't want to pay, and that's fine. We don't charge anybody on that side anything. We only charge our clients. And let me share a little bit about some client success stories this year. Now, when you become a client, you do pay. And not everybody on the dating side pays, and that's all right. That's, you've hired a recruiter, and that's technically what we do. If a big company is looking for a CEO, the CEO is not the one paying to be recruited, okay? The recruiting company is going to pay the recruiter, which is technically what I am, and we're going to go source and search for what exactly you're looking for or what we think might be your best fit. Sometimes it's not exactly what you think. And with that, you're going to be paying us, and as a company, I'm going to share with you, we do things a little bit different. And I love what we do, and this is why I work with my company. So we always do a timeline with our clients. We never have a set amount of dates because in that timeline, you can have as many dates as you want. And I think that's really important. If you're thinking about picking a matchmaking company and they say you only get a set amount of dates, well, the odds are not in your favor. So I am no mathematician, but if you only get a certain amount of dates, then how do you know that of those 6 or of those 10 that they're going to be good? And then on top of that, blind matchmaking. I've seen companies who do set amount of dates and it's all blind. Look, at the end of the day, we are all visual, men and women alike. My company, my prerogative, the only way I would ever hire a company or work with a company or be with a company is if you show pictures and bios both ways. So you want to make sure that your company is forthright with sharing who you're going to be with, what they look like, recent photos. They should have done the vetted job of really calling that person. Like my clients, every date they go on, I have chatted with the person. I have talked with the person. I've gotten to know them. And that person, who their date is, has my number too. And they've got to hear about who my client is. They can ask me questions. everybody should be excited and should be comfortable with going on that first date. Now, recently, I just had a client. She went on a date, and it was a matchmaker to matchmaker date. So it was another matchmaker had a client. And sadly, we didn't know this. On paper, he looked great, but he was on the spectrum, which is fine. But the other matchmaker didn't tell us that. And I understand sometimes you can't even catch that, but my client right away could tell. And she said to me, Katy, I just felt like a little slighted. Nobody shared that with me. And had they shared, I still would have gone on the date, but at least I would have been prepared for his personality type, which is much different than what she's used to. So I think it's really important that we are, as matchmakers, we are honest, we're forthright with all the nuances of our clients. Of course, not the inner details. That's not my job. But, I have a client who he hunts a lot, like a lot. So much so that there are plenty of stuffed animals in his home. So that is something that if I'm going to put him on a date, I want a woman to understand that, because if after a couple of dates she comes to his house and she's horrified by it, they're just not a good match to start. So I want to make sure that with my clients and with those of you who are in my network, that we are communicating well, we're being honest from the beginning, and we're sharing those truths. So, people will say, Katy, what's your success rate? Well, everyone's goal is different in dating. And I have a lot of clients who are kind of young. They're hardworking guys. I get this a lot. They're in their 30s and they're just busy with work. I have one that works for the NFL, and he's like, Katy, I only have 3 months in the summer to date. And he lives in a city where the pond is not great. Guys, if your pond is a bunch of carp and you want a king salmon, you might have to go to Alaska for it. It is okay to date outside of your city. It is okay to date long distance. I have done it. I do it very successfully with someone, and that is podcast 33. So go check that out, because I think it's great. It might work best for your situation. Of course, the goal is to be together, but being together can look very different. I know in my age bracket, I know people who live in 2 places, but they're together. I mean, you're already busy traveling for work, or I was raising my kids, and so I liked my kid's space and time, and then I would see him on the days I didn't. So everyone's goal is different. How everyone dates looks different. My 30-year-old guys are just, some of them have never really dated. They've been so busy building their kingdom, which I love. These are the guys you ladies want to be with. So go and be with these guys who are just busting. They want a queen, so make sure you are the queen. You hear this all the time on Instagram. Oh, are you the queen? Well, those guys who are working hard, they are the king, but you can't fault them for working either. They're working so much that they don't want to do the work. They don't want to vet. They don't want to swipe. So that's my job, and they love it. So they're going on dates. They're meeting multiple women. They're not maybe necessarily ready to get married, but they enjoy meeting the women in the process and kind of figuring out what they do and what they don't want in dating. And that's part of the process, you guys. So getting real clear about like that over there is not a good fit for me. Although I thought I liked it, probably not a good fit. And then I have a lot of guys who are in their, mid 50s, post-divorce. So, they've had kids, they understand that concept, and they're much more flexible and things like that. Those guys are dear to my heart only because I'm in that age range. I have kids as well, and they're hungry for something great again. So that's what I found. These guys are a little bit more serious. They're looking for something long-term, whether it be marriage. A lot of them are open to even having another kid if they meet the right woman. So that is a positive. I mean, they're settled in life at this point, and they've had a divorce, so they understand maybe where they messed up. Almost all of my clients are in therapy as well, which I think is amazing. So it gives them a high EQ, emotional quotient, or they call that the EI, emotional intelligence. And that's what ladies are looking for. So guys, if you don't even know what that term is, get on it. Go listen to my podcast, 35, EQ and dating. It's super important. So this older group of guys are just hungry for a quality woman of character. Now, ladies, you don't have to be the most perfect, but if you have a great heart, they love that. It is huge. I actually wrote a book. I have a little course called 7 Steps to Sexy. And the number 2 thing that men are looking for, besides attractive and sexy and fun, is really that she's kind. These men are looking for kind women. No bitter ex-wives. They don't want that. They don't want to be a bitter Bob. So make sure that you are that kind woman. Now, here's a great story. So I have a client, and it took him a couple months, which I understand. This is like buying a house, like hiring a matchmaker. Like even when I was like, currently I'm thinking about buying a house, but I'm not quite ready. So it's been a couple months. I go in the market, and I understand some realtors are like, you have to be pre-qualified to even see this house because they don't want to waste their time. I fully understand that because the same in my business. Some of these guys are not ready yet. They're kind of like, Katy, I'm busy with work. It's not the right season, which is fair. I 100% agree. If you're not ready, don't date, but they're thinking about it. So this guy thought about it for a while. He wasn't ready with work, and then it was go time. And the beauty of that sometimes is they pay as a client, and then they give us a couple months, and we're already recruiting, looking for women, getting the queue lined up. So he said to me one thing. He said, Katy, I want quality over quantity. And he was not kidding. So I found him to be a little bit of a difficult client only because he said no to so many of the women in the bios that I sent. And I thought, and look, I picked some amazing women, but there might have been one little thing that he didn't like, and he was like not willing to budge. I mean, he literally had a bullet pointed list of many, 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 many things, which I'm not always a fan of, but at least he was very clear. So he ultimately went on, I think, 3 dates, and boom, he met the one. Now, how he met her, this is what's great about this story. So my job as a matchmaker and recruiter is to always be on the lookout. And I find that a lot of you are in the database. I do check that almost every day. I'm looking into you. I'm reading about you. Now, I might not reach out right away. I will reach out when I think I have a good fit for you. But this woman was at a bar by herself. Okay, so my daughter and I just finished a boxing class. So we were in our workout gear. We go to Fashion Island in Orange County. It's a shopping center with a great restaurant called R&D. R&D is always a hot spot for singles and good-looking people, and it's kind of fun. I always sit at the bar, even with my daughter, and I look across the bar, and I see this beautiful woman. She's by herself. It's a Saturday brunch time, and the old guy next to her is trying to talk to her. I can tell she's totally out of his league. I'm like, bro, you don't even try. But, she's being friendly to him. What I loved about her is that she is confident enough to go out by herself, which I always recommend. Ladies, go out by yourself. You will meet way more men than when you're with your girlfriends. And she's just enjoying her day. I could tell that she was not overly Botoxed out. She was not overly plumped out, which happens in Orange County and some other areas, which men are not fond of. They like the idea of it, but when they're around it too much, it's just not attractive to them, at least with my clients. And so I loved her natural beauty, her confidence. Just from the get-go, I could tell she was pretty rad. So I go to the bathroom, and then I meander over, and I interrupt the guy who's chatting with her, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, but, I'm a matchmaker. Are you single? And she just lit up. She's like, I am single. I said, fabulous. I said, you seem like an amazing woman. I would love you in my database. I actually might have a guy for you. All this to say, fast forward. She does a great job filling out her bio, and she does it within 2 days, which I appreciate. If I've asked you to do that because I think you're amazing, I love it when someone puts the effort in, and I am watching that as well. Like, I will pick you because you put the effort in. It shows me that you value what I do and you value being introduced to somebody. So she does a great job. I send it to my client. He says, I dated her before 2 years ago, Katy, but I wasn't ready. And sure enough, here comes the circle back. So they have a circle back, and they are dating, and they just invited me to their champagne party, and they are so grateful. They both sent me Christmas presents. So thank you, you two. That is a major success. I have another client who's dating someone. He just sent her 100 roses. Most of my clients are all in relationships. That is my job, and that is my goal as a matchmaker. So this year has been phenomenal with everybody finding what they needed, what they wanted for the season, and I'm very grateful to my clients for that. Well, let's move on. Another thing I'm so excited about in 2022 is the podcast. And you guys are listening to it, like literally the Dating with Katy podcast. It was on my kids and I do like a goals thing every year. And I always say like radio show, like my dream is to be like a Dr. Laura meets a Dr. Ruth and have a radio show. And, I'm a little bit hard. I have some rules that I like to throw out, and, people don't always like it, but I think it's good for people. So this podcast has been amazing. I have over 15,000 listens, subscribers on YouTube, subscribers everywhere. I'm getting 5-star reviews. Point of that story is I'm helping you. That's what I love. So even when a client the other day said, Katy, you should do a podcast on long distance dating, I said, already done. Go check it out. Podcast 35. Your questions are usually the same questions that people ask. So this season 1 was all about dating, the foundations of dating, and then getting online and dating. And then season 2 is just more like the kitschy things about dating. So I've been loving the podcast, you guys. So thank you for letting me do it. I always love your insight. Email me datingwithkaty@gmail.com and tell me what you want a podcast about, and I will most likely do it. So, and then also I wrote 7 Steps to Sexy. I'm doing a course on that. Go check it out. I also have Confidence 101 for men. I'm here to help you guys. These are practical, applicable ways that you can be better and get confident in dating. And lastly, I love my company, Cinqe Matchmaking. I am dating with Katy. That's just my cute little Instagram name. But I work with Cinqe. That's CINQE.com. We are a group of 5 amazing women. We are the best matchmakers in all of matchmaking. I can tell you hands down. That's why I work with them. We have a caliber. We have a quality. We are all great people. We're all great women. We're all in great relationships. We all have amazing little kids. They all have little kids. All my kids are bigger. And it's such a pleasure to work with my team. So whenever you're working with me, I'm your direct matchmaker, but my team is the best out there. So Cinqe, we love you. I've also been focusing on Dallas more and Scottsdale area. So if you are in those areas, get in the database. Let's work together. You guys, 2022 has been amazing, but I'm going to tell you this, 2023, we're going to crush it. So be mindful. I will be on more TV segments coming up. I am here to help you. The podcast will be growing. I'll start interviewing people. You guys are my favorite things out there. Now, I know you're dating. Please don't get discouraged, but let's make dating fun again. Thank you for joining this year, and I look forward to working together with you next year. Until then, cheers to great dating.